Hey, this is Darren from Property Prosperity. Today I thought I'd answer a viewer question. They've had a property on the market for a couple of months now and they haven't managed to sell it. So they're just trying to make the decision, what do I do now? Do they just leave it sitting on the market? Do they drop the price, which is not what they want to do? Or do they just rent it out and sit and wait and then put it back on the market at a later stage? You know, how long do you keep going before you just give up, I suppose? So I thought I'd have a little bit of a chat to you today and give you a bit of a my thoughts on how long you should be hanging on for and what some of the options are if you decide, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to sell it. What do we do about it? So, hey, Alexander, thanks for joining. So the first thing, thanks for the like too. And if anyone likes me, then feel free to click on the like button too. That'd be great. Yeah, so if you, the thing to understand firstly is the average days of market in Adelaide this is where I am, is approximately 90 days or about 3 months or so. So don't freak out if it's not sold the first weekend. But understand though that basically trying to sell a house, it's all internet related unfortunately nowadays. So basically what you're doing is putting an advert on either the two main ones are realestate.com and Domain. People sitting on there looking through for properties, and you'll pop up when it's a new property, you'll pop up right at the very top. People are looking for new properties. They don't really want something, if they sort of generally, they've seen all the old ones, so they just keep looking out for new ones all the time. So basically what you want to do is the first time you go on the market, you want to make sure you hit it with a bang, because that's your best opportunity to try and sell the property. So, like I say, there's only one chance to make a first impression. So you want to get out there and make sure people see the property and present it as well as you possibly can. My thing is when I'm trying to sell a house, I put a lot of effort into the first open. So I want when people come and have a look at the house, I want to make it look as well as awesome as we can. Basically present the house awesome, nice brochures, nice presentation. We'll have like a coffee van and a whole pile of different things to sort of add to the atmosphere of the open. Because I know the most amount of people are going to come to the first open. So if I put all of my effort into the first open, that's when the most people come, and trying to present the house as well as possibly I can. That's a chance trying to grab some of those people and trying to get them to come back to the second open. So I generally have 2 opens a week, so I have another one on the Tuesday or the Wednesday following up that, because I want to build the momentum after the first open. They go, wow, that looks awesome, my husband or my partner or whatever can't come along, or I want to bring my friend who's an expert, they can come and check it out. So then give them a chance to come back relatively quickly, so only a few days later, so then they can have a good look at it and make a decision if they want to put in an offer straight away. So that's the key. The first open's where you start to build the momentum, and you want to keep that momentum going as long as possible. And that's part of the reasoning of why you don't want to leave a property on the market for too long. You start to lose that momentum, and then suddenly before you know it, you've got no one coming to your opens. So my logic is if you've got no one coming to your opens, then you're not going to sell it, because who's going to buy a house that they can't see, that they don't come and have a look at least. So so that's my first thing, is really you want to sell it quickly. The key is though, you got to make sure that you don't giving the house away too. So you got to do your research, trying to have a good idea of where you think the market's at and price it fairly. I think the days nowadays where you can massively overprice a house or the market's not that informed, I think those days are gone. Basically, I had a house I sold last week. Sold it in a week or so, but the buyer, he knew everything that had sold in the last year. Basically, he knew every house in the area. He knew what things were renting out for in the area, how long they sell in the market for, what the agent did, the way they presented it. He'd been going in and out of houses for the last year before he came and bought my house. So he was very, very well informed. So for me to try and, tell him it's worth $100,000 more than it was, then, you can't really convince them that. They basically know what it's worth. So all you can do is try and point out all the good points. And what you can do is create the environment where they have to try a bit harder than they otherwise would. So that's part of the logic of trying to sell it quickly. They come to the open and you've got 20, 30 groups coming to the open, then suddenly they're going to have to try a lot harder than if they come to an open there's 1 or 2 people. So even though their logic is telling them they don't want to pay this much money for the house, their emotions are saying, hey, well, I'm going to have to pay whatever I have to pay, because if I want it, then that's what I have to do. So the thing about getting lots of people to your opens, you can't do that every single open. So you can only hi Kathleen, thanks for joining. You can only really do that the first couple of opens. After that, you're just going to run out of people that are going to come along. So that's the first thing. So understanding the first open is the key. The next thing to understand is, I think I remember a quote once, I don't know where it came from, but the definition of insanity was doing the same thing and expecting a different outcome. So the thing is, I've sort of got a few different a few different bag of tricks that I'd sort of pull out at different stages in the sales process, and I might not necessarily try them all on the first open or the second open or the third open. I just sort of wait to feel out the market and work out where things are at. And so And then over time, if I feel like I have to reinvigorate it somehow, then we'll look at changing the strategy somehow to try and get some more people to come and have a look at it in a different way. So I know it sounds a bit crazy, but basically the thing is you've got to do something different. If you've had it on the market for a month and it hasn't sold, then why is it going to sell? Unless you're doing something different, it's not going to sell, really. One of those things differently could be you drop the price, or another thing could be you reach out to another market. You might decide that it's, firstly you whack it on the realestate.com and domain and you hand out some flyers and then try and sell it and you can't sell it. Then you might say, okay, well, let's get it creative. Maybe it's a little 2-bedroom unit close to the city that, great for an old couple. Maybe you go and knock on all the doors of the retirement village, or, maybe the thing is to have a plan and have an understanding of, what are we going to do differently this week compared to last week to try and get this thing sold. If every single week you're doing the same thing, why is it going to sell? Because at the end of the, remember the logic is, the first week is the best week when you get the most amount of people looking at it, the most momentum. So in the second week is a little bit harder, and the third week is a little bit harder, the fourth week is a little bit harder. So it's only 2 months down the track. We're 8 weeks in to try and sell the property. If we're doing exactly the same thing we did on the first week, but we've got, one person coming to an open instead of 15 groups coming to an open, it's just going to be so much harder. So what you need to be doing is having a bit of a plan is, what are we going to be doing different in week 8 than we would do in week 1? The thing to understand about this whole selling a house thing is that if you're engaging an agent to try and sell the house for you, which, again, agents have skills in trying to sell houses. They've got tricks tricks of the trade of trying to get people to the opens, trying to negotiate with people, try and create that that buying frenzy atmosphere. So if you're trying to sell the house yourself and you don't have those tricks, then you're really just relying on luck. Someone rocks up to your open and just pays you what you want to do. And if you don't have the skills to try and make that happen, it can be quite difficult. If you do have an agent that's selling the house for you, then the question then is, hey Kerry, thanks for joining. If you do have an agent that's selling the house for you, just understand the agent is crucial to the whole sales process. Hey Nelson, thanks for joining from the US. And so yeah, the agent's crucial for trying to sell the property. And so the agent's doing everything for you, basically. They're dealing with the buyers and they're dealing with you. Basically, you have no control over what's going to happen throughout the process. You're really relying on trust that the agent's going to do the right thing. So when you're interviewing an agent, you're talking to the agent, you've got to believe that they're doing the right thing by you. And if you're doubting what your agent's doing, you're not really sure, and you sort of feel a bit uncomfortable with your agent, that's probably not the agent for you, because really, you're in it together. Obviously, you don't get any money until you sell the house. The agent gets commission when he sells the house too. So you're both in it together. So you both got to have a plan, and you've got to believe. And if it hasn't been on the market hasn't sold in a week or a month and 2 months and 3 months, you've got to be in it just as much as the agent's got to be in it, and you've got to believe that you're working in it together. And if then if you're not confident in what your agent's doing, then I suppose you really have to sort of question, what can we be doing differently, really? So again, that might be you choosing another agent, or it might not be choosing another agent. It might be dropping the price, or it might be doing some different marketing along the way. So if you continue doing different things and then trying different things and trying to make things happen, and then it doesn't sell, then at some point in time, you've got to ask yourself, how long do we leave this thing sit on the market? Because what's going to happen at some point in time is it's just going to go stale, and you're going to have no one coming to the opens. And then if you do, it's just, to be honest, it's a pain in the ass selling your house. You're going to have to, the way you present the house in the very first open, when the house looks immaculate, is the same way the house looks to look in 6 months' time when you've had it on the market for 6 months and you're getting no one coming to your opens. Because you don't know if that perfect person that's going to pay top dollar is there in 6 months' time, or they're there at the first open. So if you're going to leave it on the market for 6 months, you're going to make sure you present it as well as it possibly can in 6 months' time as it would be in the first week, which is not good. It's a pain in the ass trying to have your house perfectly spotted. If you're living in the house, it's a hassle to try and make your house look perfect for every open. And again, remember, I have 2 opens a week, so you're trying to make your house look perfect twice a week, which is a massive hassle. Another reason why you want to sell the house really quickly. The second thing is if you've got tenants in the house, that's even worse. Trying to get tenants and coordinate them and trying to do that for 6 months where you're having opens coming all the time, that's going to be a total nightmare as well. So, or the other option is you kick out your tenants, you've got a house sitting there vacant. That's probably, I don't know which is worse. All 3 of those are pretty bad. If you've got a house sitting there vacant, you're losing the money in the rent, and you've got a house just sitting there. You might have hired furniture, you've got all these other costs of just having a house sitting there. So either which way, having a house sitting on the market for a long period of time is not a good thing. So, I believe in the momentum of having a house on the market quite quickly. That as soon as you have it on the market, that's when you get all the momentum, and that's when you get all the best buyers, and that's when you get all the best offers. So if you had it on the market for quite a while and no one's bought it, then you just have to start thinking, okay, what do I do now? at some point in time you might have to consider whether you just take it off the market. Because the cool thing is if you take it off the market and then put it back on the market in the future, it sort of resets the market. Those people that are looking 3 months ago or 6 months ago or 12 months ago, they're not looking anymore because they found another property. If you put it back on the market, it's a new property again, then they're new people. It starts this momentum building again. Again, you've got to rely on your agent to give you feedback on what's going to change, you know, in a year's time when you put it back on the market, and you've got to be in it together basically. So yeah, hopefully that makes sense to you guys. So how long should you leave it on the market? Leave it on as long as you keep doing different things and as long as you keep getting people coming to your open inspection. If you're not doing anything different and you're not getting people coming to your open inspection, then you might as well just take it off the market because you're not going to sell it. One caveat to that thing is if you're going to take it off the market, if your house looks immaculate, you're going to take it off the market and you're going to rent it out. Understand if you're going to rent it out for 6-12 months, it's not going to look immaculate again, and your tenants might trash the place, which is going to cost you a lot of money to put it back on the market to present it in the same sort of way you did it the first time. So just understand there's going to be a cost associated with putting a tenant in there, as well as financial gain of having a tenant in there covering a cost for a period of time. So I just saw a question from Alexander. I'll very quickly answer that before I get off. And again, if anything I've said makes sense to anybody, feel free to click on the like button. If it doesn't make sense, then still click on the like button. If you think someone might find this useful, if you know they've had their property sitting on the market for a while and they probably need a bit of advice, then click on the share button. Hopefully they find it useful. And if you've got any questions for me in the future, then click on the comment box and I'm happy to answer any questions in the future. Alexander Stewart Hall has mentioned the real question, as I see it, slow or flat market is, and at what point do you conclude the market has spoken? How long do you continue to believe we just haven't found the right buyer? So here's basically, there's always the right buyer. At the end of the day, it's you just keep dropping the price at some point in time. And at some point in time, you drop the price and someone's going to buy it. I'm always surprised when, I talk to people all the time. They say, hey man, I've had my property on the market for 3 months and, had no offers. I'm like, what do you mean you've had no offers? I'll give you an offer now. I'll give you $10. At the end of the day, that's an offer. I'll give you $1,000. I'll give you $10,000 without even seeing your house. I'm going to put in an offer. So what I would be saying is, firstly, your agents need to get heaps of people to the opens, firstly, and secondly, they need to get heaps of offers, regardless of what the offers are. Because if you're not getting offers in, then nothing's happening. There's no way you're going to sell the house unless you get an offer in. So your agent has to be getting any offer they possibly can. And again, even if it's on the market at $350 and you get an offer at $250, it's still an offer. You can ring up everybody and say that. Sorry, Chris Gilmore likes my hair, so thanks, Chris Gilmore, and I'll give you a tip later on where you can get the gel. And yes, so what was I talking about? The offer, yeah, getting heaps of offers in, basically. Once you get the first offer, you can ring up everybody and say, hey, I've had an offer then. Do you want to put an offer in? It just creates that momentum, creates that sort of a feeding frenzy, I suppose, the fear of missing out. And that's when you start getting offers in. It's like when you go to an auction and you rock up and no one wants to put in the first bid. Once you get that first bid out of the way, everyone starts putting in bids. Auctions aren't my thing. I just do basically the same thing when I'm selling a house. I get heaps and heaps of offers in. That starts the momentum off and then starts people putting in fair offers then right from the very start. So hopefully that makes sense to everybody. And if you have liked it, click on the like button. If you haven't liked it, click on the like button. And if you think someone might get some use out of that, click on the share button. And I'm happy to answer any questions you may have. And click on the comment box and enter it down the bottom. Thanks, guys. Have a good day.